everybody. Welcome back to Story of an Artist. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be doing a lot more interviews with different artists and post them on here. Today I have the pleasure to be joined by Gej Jones. Gej was a teacher of mine back in high school, so I called him Mr. Jones for years, and then after a few years of friendship, we got to the point where I could call him Gej. He would have said call me Gej from the get-go, but that's what I did out of respect, and then we became friends, and we've had a great time being able to travel around together and do some photography. So Gej, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks. So why don't we start with, actually, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the cameras behind me, and that kind of gets to maybe the start of your photography. Kind of talk about like a couple of these cameras that you used to have and just kind of how you got started in photography as a kid.
Well, when I was probably 7, 8, maybe 9 years old, I was out in the garage poking around at stuff that I had no business poking around in. And I found an old box camera, and I didn't know what it was. And I brought it into the house, and my mother looked at it, and she didn't know where it came from. When my dad got home from work, he said it was a camera that he'd had. And he showed me how it worked and explained things to me and suggested that I go down to the local drugstore and buy a roll of Kodak black and white film, which I did, and he helped me put the film in the camera and sent me out to take pictures. Well, after the camera wouldn't work anymore, that's how you'd learn that you were out of film. He showed me how to wind it all up, and so that it went inside the little metal canister, or maybe it was cardboard back then, I don't remember, and take it down to the pharmacy where I bought the film, and they would have it developed for me and get me pictures. And it was, quite honestly, John, it was all I could do it was like Christmas for a little kid, you know. I'm
right.
waiting for it. When's it coming? Finally it came, and as I said, some of the pictures were okay, and some were just nothing but blur. I moved the camera and pushed the button at the same time, and the focal lengths were bad in some, and some I had my brother and sister in the picture, and they were pretty well. I could tell who they were. But my real first camera was a Kodak Brownie Hawkeye, which is over your right shoulder. And I used that when I was in the 7th grade. The teachers at Christmas, I had 2 teachers in 7th grade. They team taught us. And they said if we were good for the rest of the year, which was a real incentive because we were hellions, they would take us to Greenfield Village. And we were able to go down there, and we got to go to the River Rouge plant and the top of whatever the big department store was down there, and watch the ladies wheel around on roller skates doing the telephone. And I took a picture in Greenfield Village and entered it into a contest that the camera club was doing something nice for our class. And they had a contest, and they enlarged pictures to 8 by 10 and mounted them on board. And I didn't win, but one of my pictures got an honorable mention, and I was real proud of that. Nice. In fact, when we did the first gallery show, you and I, that picture was there.
Yep.
I posted it.
I remember that.
It was kind of a neat thing. It turned me on to photography, and I've been taking pictures ever since. Although between the time of BC, before children, took a lot of pictures, but after children and until I retired, I really wasn't able to afford to be a photographer.
Sure.
It was, for a long time, it was expensive simply because you still had to either develop them yourself, the pictures, or have somebody else do it for you. But when I retired in 2007, my wife and I jokingly say, bought me a camera to get me out of the house. And there was probably a little bit of truth in that, maybe a lot. But that's when I started really taking pictures again. So I've been at it for 13 years and had really enjoyed all of it. I've never had a miserable day out taking photographs.
Nice. You mentioned you grew up in the Traverse City area, and that had been a wonderful adventure to go down to Metro Detroit and to Greenfield Village at such a young age. Did you travel much as a kid with your parents, or were you guys mainly in the Traverse City area?
Mainly in the Traverse City area. As a kid, we would take a summer trip to visit my grandparents in Maine. That was really the one I remember, or to visit my grandparents in Chicago. But sitting in the back of a Ford Ranchero wagon, or whatever it was called back then, was not pleasurable. You know, it's hot, even with the windows rolled down, and the floor got hot, and we would sleep in tents because that's what you did. I mean, yeah, there were motels, but those were for rich people. So we really didn't travel a lot.
Yeah.
But living in Traverse City in the summertime in particular, what else was there to do but go to the beach and ride your bike wherever you wanted to go? It was safe, and the roads were really pretty easy to get on and travel. And in the wintertime, you skied. So unless you played basketball, but most of the kids I knew skied. And if you had a way off the subject, but I can remember days when we'd have snow days and the school would be closed, and you'd have gotten somewhere between 6 inches and 18 inches of snow the night before. After you got your sidewalk and the garage shoveled out so that, you know, Dad could go to work and you could make some money shoveling walks, you put your skis on your shoulder and walk down to Division Street and put your thumb out, and pretty soon somebody would come along and throw your skis in the back of the car and take you to the local ski area. And where a kid back then, a year membership was 25 cents.
Wow.
And you could ski from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. They had lights on the slope. So it was pretty neat. But back to photography, it would have been a great place to know more about photography than I knew.
What do you think photography has done for you as far as, I know you love to travel. Has it taken you to some places you never would have went if you didn't pick up the camera? I mean, I know you love to travel and just see things in general, but like a certain destination or multiple destinations, has it really motivated you to get out and see different areas of the country or world?
Well, I have to blame you for some of this. My favorite, I think to this day, my favorite place to take pictures is Antelope Canyon.
Yeah.
And I saw a picture of yours that you took in the Lower Canyon. I didn't go to the Lower Canyon, only by accident. I went to the Upper Canyon and had an amazing guide. And that was one of the things that, yes, I was able to do. Monument Valley, a short distance away. The Arches, again, a short distance away. San Francisco, there's never a bad place to take a picture in San Francisco. There's always just, you know, you round a corner and there's another picture. As far as stopping, my wife gets a little upset with me. You know, I'll say, geez, I wish I'd stopped and take that picture. And she says, you know, we're just going to get to the motel 15 minutes later if you don't.
Right.
And so I'm getting better at it, John. But one of the pictures that I didn't take, we were someplace on I-70 heading west, and there had been a really strong wind, and a windmill had blown, so it was like this. And I'm thinking, you know, I should probably stop and take a picture of that, because the light was just right and the barn was in the right position. It was a unique picture that told a story.
Nice.
And I didn't stop. And on the way back, the windmill had already come down. It came down the rest of the way. So, you know, it was over. I couldn't get that picture. And another one that's kind of unique and different is in Nebraska. There was a church just off of the expressway, and I did stop, and we walked in. I'm not exaggerating. The grass was up to here. It was, you know, some places was over our head, but we followed the animal trails to get to it. It was probably 200 yards, maybe 300 yards from the parking where we parked the car. And I've wanted to go back numerous times to take more pictures of that church. Well, I finally, in my mind, coming back, we stayed at a distance away so that it would be around 11 o'clock in the morning by the time we got there. And it was foggy, a light drizzle. everything's perfect for a black and white photograph.
Yeah.
We get there, and the church is gone.
Oh.
Somebody has come in and completely removed, and there's big wires about half an inch, an inch in diameter surrounding the entrance to where the parking lot was. And even from the expressway, you couldn't see the church. I mean, the church was gone. They either burned it down or bulldozed it in or something. But yeah, there's times that you got to stop. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, and there's other times you'll really be looking forward to something. You get there and the place is closed, or you can't get to it, or find the shot that you want. Me and my wife were in the UK last year, and I was watching this show, Downton Abbey. We get to that castle, and it's a beautiful castle in the show, and just a real centerpiece to the show. And we get there, and of course the one day it's closed is the day we're there, which is it was a Monday or whatever day of the week it was. And I said, don't drive up, and we just drove up anyways. We're like, I'm like, let's see what happens. And we get up there, there's a guard. He's like, you didn't see the sign? And we're like, well, I saw the sign, but thought I'd give it a shot. And so that's another thing that happens. We go places and we just can't find the right angle, or like the weather is not right, that sort of thing. So it makes it interesting. I think one of the things both of us really love about photography is just you can continue to learn every day, or every week, something new. And every time you go out and shoot, you find something unique and new to learn. Talk about a little bit about that process, how you've kind of evolved over your photography, and how it really keeps your interest still.
Well, the one thing I like about photography, and you and I have both experienced this, is that if you ask a photographer, how did you do that? In fact, you and I were together in Toronto, and you started talking to a guy, and I'm off doing my thing. And pretty soon I can see that you and he are getting excited about what's going on. And we eventually ended up on Cherry Street, or Cherry Drive, or Cherry Avenue, or whatever it was. And we got the night pictures of the city across the water because of that guy. He told you how to go to where you needed to go to get the shot.
Yeah.
And with photographers, at least it's my experience has been that when somebody asks you, how did you do that? They'll tell you, and they'll explain it to you the best of their ability, so that eventually you can do the same thing. I was on Twin Peaks in San Francisco, which is one of the highest points around San Francisco, shooting the city. And there was this, probably 19 to 23-year-old, somewhere in there. And he's sitting there with a small point and shoot, and he's trying to get a picture. And he sees my picture, and he's, after it's developed, it come up on the back of the camera, and he's going, how did you do that? And I said, well, you really need a tripod to get this picture, because it's a time-lapse picture. And he goes, oh. And you could see that he was really dejected because he didn't have it. I said, listen, I took one of the quick releases out of my pocket, put it on his camera, took my camera off, put his on the tripod, and said, okay, you frame it up, and we'll take this picture. And we did. He was thrilled.
Yeah.
And to this day, he'll remember it. I certainly do. And it was nothing to me. It took probably 2 minutes, and he got a picture that he'll enjoy the rest of his life. That's what I think photography is to a lot of people. Sure, it's nice to sell a photograph. It's nice to be asked to take a photograph. I know that you've done this. I certainly have done it too. You'll be walking down a street, and somebody be trying to do a selfie with another person, or there'll be 3 people, and 2 people take a picture, and then another person, and 2 people take a picture, and then the third 2 people. I walk up and say, would you like all 3 of you together?
Right.
It's just what we do. And so as far as learning, somebody's always willing to teach you. I took a course down at LCC years ago. I had no clue what Photoshop was even all about. This was before Lightroom became very popular. And it was a 2-day or 3-day, I think it was 3 days, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and a couple hours on Sunday. And a lot of the people that were in the class, they knew it was an instant A if they took it. So all they had to do was show up, sign in, and then they left. So I ended up in a class that started out maybe with 25 people in it. There were probably 4 of us after everybody left.
Yeah.
And I got wonderful instruction, and the guy was great. I mean, taught me things that I didn't know what Photoshop was. So it's that kind of stuff. And as you do, YouTube, wow, if you need to find something out, somebody's there to teach you how to do it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I love that aspect about photography as well, that, you know, it doesn't matter who asks me a question. I'm willing to share what I know, because somebody has done that with me. You know, whether it's a teacher, you know, teaching me economics, or if it's a photography class or YouTube video. I get so much out of if I watch a 10-minute YouTube video, maybe I get 30 seconds of that. Taught me something, and the rest I knew. But if somebody wasn't out there creating that content or willing to share, and that's in every aspect of life, I think. And yeah, I love that too. We belong to or did belong to a group that was international, and it was nice to communicate with people from all over the world that had the same hobby or job as you, that sort of thing, sort of interest. Talk a little bit about that group and just how, the photography community, you can share a lot more than just photography. You get to know people that you wouldn't have known otherwise, through the internet.
Well, 2 or 3 people that I got to know, Birdie from New Orleans, she took a lot of pictures of water droplets or colored drops of water and the splash and so forth. Very high speed, grabbed the essence of it. And, they were really good. I enjoyed looking at them and began to understand what she was doing and how she was doing it. And I wrote her and asked her if we could have a cup of coffee sometime if I ever got to New Orleans. She took me around. She took my wife and I around New Orleans to all of her non-touristy places that she grew up enjoying. And wow, it was after Katrina, and she took us to places that the normal person would never go. And some of it was really sad, because the X's on the house and what each portion of the X meant.
Right.
And, 3 people died in this house and that kind of stuff. But, she went out of her way to show us New Orleans and allow us, and she was photographing too while we were there. This morning, what the butler saw, I think that Jane.
Yeah, Jane, I believe. Yep.
Okay, she posted some pictures this morning on the internet, and I just happened to see them. And then I mentioned before this that Smith had shot 4 rounds under 70 at the Masters. This never happened before, and he didn't win. And one of the people that was in the photography group that we were in, a club we were in, was from Australia, and he said that Smith was in the golf club that he belonged to there, and said he was really a nice young man, and when it's kind of neat to we had somebody from every continent except for Antarctica.
Yep.
And it was neat to, first of all, people spell English differently in different parts of the world, color, things like that. And it was fun to listen to how people talk differently, write differently rather, and to see what photography they do, and you go, oh, geez, I'd like to go there and see the Great Ocean Road in Australia. It's one step from amazing, or maybe it is amazing. It's just every half mile there's another wall hanger. It's really, really special. And you've been to Italy.
Yeah.
You go to Venice and Florence and
we could spend a week on one block, right? Just taking different photos. So where would you say, let's take money off the table or everything off the table? What's a project that maybe you've wanted to do over the last 10, 13 years since you've been back into photography? Is there something, just some kind of dream project? I know you've been lucky enough to travel a lot and be a lot of places, but give me something that's just one of those bucket list items that's been in your heart. if you have one?
I would like to go back to Antelope Canyon again.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there are no more photography tours, at least at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to go there in the summer and get that 30-second possible shot, that the light streaming down through. I've got some that I'm happy with, but that's something I would like to do again. I'm not as mobile as I was at one time, and that's causing me some. I've got to do something about it. I mean, I've either got to get a Segway or something else so I can get around. But
right.
The reality is that you go to a national park, and I watched your videos about traveling in Zion.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there's no way I would do what you've done.
Right.
My heart wouldn't take it, and
Yeah.
my mind would say, no, that's something you don't need to do. But there are some shots in Zion that I wish I had taken more time with.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, I think the comment you made earlier about if you looked at some pictures I'd taken 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
you'd either crop them differently or edit them differently in some fashion. I look at things that I've seen, and the one thing I'm really excited about is when I got my new camera, it's big enough so that when I say, oh, I need to move this over just a little bit, and I crop it, I don't lose any of the quality of the picture.
Right.
Whereas before, geez, you might drop from a 16 megabyte picture down to
4.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely do.
4. You'd be lucky an 8x10 would still look good. But I'd like to go to New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I probably never will do. But the pictures that come from Lord of the Rings and all of those kinds of beautiful scenery, I would like to see that at least and take pictures of it.
Yeah.
I didn't see a lot of Australia that you see in a lot of the videos.
Mm-hmm.
The outback, we didn't go there. We were basically where they grow grapes and make wine. I have no desire to go to South America.
Mm-hmm.
I have no desire to go south of the border. I would go back to Canada. There's, oh shoot, I can't think of the name of it. There's it's been on for like 13 seasons. It's horses and a family that lives on a ranch, and they bring people in and so forth. It's a real place.
Right.
And I have a friend that fell in love with watching it, and they went there for a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Took the train up, and the photos of that place is just unbelievable. Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Those are the kinds of things I would like to do. I've been very fortunate traveling out west and going with you to Chicago and to Toronto, and we went to South St. Joe and got wet.
Detroit, Alabama. We've been quite a few places.
Quite a few places. It's not like we haven't been places. There's nothing that I really want to do, but there's places I'd like to go back to.
Sure.
And not just for the photography, but for the food and for the music and the people, those kinds of things. You meet so many really great people when you're photographing. It's different. It's not like you're a tourist, but you are.
Yeah.
But it's different.
No, I get that. You're there, and you're not just walking by. You take a moment, and something that me and you both do is we'll go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm a photographer. Yeah, I'd love to take your photo. And the world has changed so much now that everybody is taking their own photo every 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, especially the younger people. So I know you and I were in Toronto, and we had asked a few people if we could have their photo, or you just take it. If you're on the street, we're pretty, aware of people. We're not trying to, if somebody's homeless or something like that, I'm not taking their photo. I try and document people walking down the street or something, and not to exploit them, but just to capture that moment. And a lot of people will catch me taking the photo, and they really just don't care anymore. They used to care 10, 20 years ago, but not anymore. And but going back to the point of, I think it's wonderful to something that both of us do is try and get off the beaten path, find that restaurant that's a local restaurant and not some TGIF or whatever, something that's local, authentic, and you get to meet some really nice people that way. And I know you're a foodie, so where's on a different subject than photography, where's one of your favorite meals that you've taken or that you've gone to and had?
Probably the absolute best Italian meal I've ever eaten in my life was in Amarillo, Texas. And I'll tell you, it's not a city I would want to live in.
Yeah.
I said to the guy standing in line one time, I said, it kind of smells here because of all the manure surrounding the area. He said, son, that's money.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different point of view.
Right.
Hey, I don't like the smell. And he says, that's money. But we went to we stayed at a motel, and I asked the lady at the desk, I said, if you were going to go out for dinner and you were going to go, it was special, you were either with your significant other or a husband or whatever, where would you go? She said, well, what would you like to eat? And we'd had a Mexican the day before. And so I said, well, how about Italian? And she says, oh, no question. And she told us this restaurant, and it was probably 3 miles from where we were staying, and, easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
We pull in, and it's in a strip mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it and going, well, okay, let's go in. We go in, and we were probably the only people there. It was 5 o'clock. Nobody had gotten out of work yet.
Yeah.
And we were seated at this little booth, and before we even had our rear ends in the seat, there was freshly baked dinner rolls delivered to our table. John, I could have just eaten those and I'd been happy.
Right.
And then I think a granddaughter or a niece or somebody showed up to take our order. I ordered the seafood, yada, yada, yada. Now, this is in Amarillo, Texas, beef country.
Right next to the ocean, right?
Yeah, right next to it. It came out, it was just, I almost licked the plate. It was that good.
Yeah.
God, it was good. And I've gone back twice since then. Wow. So I've been there 3 times, and I've ordered the same thing twice.
Yeah.
I tried something different the next time, and it was great, but it wasn't as great as the first thing. So I ordered the other thing the third time. That was probably the best meal I've had traveling. The other one, and I think I've mentioned to you, El Pinto in not Santa Fe, but in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, yep.
We went there, and it was, we walk in, and the place is huge. I mean, it's just one building added onto another building, added onto another building, and we're there on December 5th, which happens to be our anniversary. And she said, what would you like? And, I immediately opened the menu, and the menu's, it's like a encyclopedia. I mean, it's thick. But up in the upper right, left-hand corner is a little sign that says, the best nachos in America, and it's from the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
Well, I like nachos. So I ordered them, and the Wall Street Journal got it right. They were outstanding. And you don't order a full order because it comes, it'd be like this.
Right.
There was enough for us to eat. And of course, we had margaritas, and they know how to make them.
Yeah.
And it was quite a night. It was
nice.
and In fact, we had enough margaritas, so we took a nap in the parking lot before we drove back to the motel.
There you go. That's a good night.
Yeah, it was special. But those, you get some really good meals on the road, and like you said, you don't go to TGIF or
Yeah.
Not to disparage them, but
No.
There are so many good restaurants on the road, and all you have to do is ask. Many of them won't be on the billboard as you're driving into town.
And that's why you talk to one of the locals and get their advice. So Gej, tell people how they can find you, how they can find your work, your photography, websites, that sort of thing. How can they reach you?
Well, Gej Jones Photography, GEJ-JONES Photography. It's on Fine Art America, or you can get me on pixels.com as well. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. Probably should put more pictures on Facebook, but most people see me on Facebook, and then they go to Fine Art America. And you know this. You can this week. Fine Art America is doing some phenomenal deals. 25% off a lot of different things, and it's a different thing every day apparently. And it's getting some travel. It's doing pretty good. But what I would encourage people to do is, if you like something and you see something that you like, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them as well.
Yep. And before we wrap up, so that the four of us can have dinner, I'm going to mention that we have fantastic wives that support us through all this. So Diane and Sally, the four of us want to have a nice, pleasant meal the next time. So we're definitely giving you a shout out, not just because of that. I'm joking, but yeah, just talk about a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap it up. My wife, she supports every ounce of my art, and I know that's with you as well.
You and I have both been very fortunate to find people that will put up with us, and that's all kidding aside, put up with us. We're going to have 50th on December 5th, and I'm pretty lucky. I mean, she supports my photography, she supports my way of life, and it's been a pretty good 50 years, no question about it. And if I ask her, you want to go with me? I would say 9 out of 10 times she'll say yes. That one time she doesn't, she's got other things she'd rather do. But we have a lot of fun going off and photographing different parts of where we're staying. And most of the time where we're staying is based on what's available to photograph. So, if you stay in St. Louis, son of a gun, you're going to hit the arch. But just west of the arch, there's a building that the reflection of the arch, and I'm going to call it a Capitol style building, is all the glass panels are right there. It's a pretty neat picture. And the arch is in the picture, but it's not a picture of the arch. You go to Amarillo, it's flat there, but the Cadillac Ranch is there. And the Cadillac Ranch is one of those places that you go once, you don't need to go again.
Right.
It's like Bourbon Street. You can go down it once, but me, I only need to go down it once. Now, Royal Street, that's a different story. But the Cadillac Ranch is a lot of people take a lot of pictures there. And there's, I wrote to somebody, you remember Vance Hamilton?
Yep.
Okay. Well, he asked me about the Cadillac Ranch the other day. And there were, I would say, hundreds of spray paint cans around it.
Yeah.
There were probably thousands. And again, our wives have put up with us to go to all these places.
Well, Gej, I really appreciate you joining us today on Story of an Artist. Once again, go ahead and find Gej on his social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, his websites. I'll put the link on below this video here. Hit subscribe while you're on there so that you can follow more of these interviews and see more artists and their stories. I want to just thank you again. I appreciate it, and we'll have some more adventures, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will.
All right. Thanks, Gej.